what's good? It's your girl Tila with the T. Today on Hot Tea Topic, I have a very special guest. Many of you may know him from the Lighthouse Church or wherever you may seen him. His name is Bishop Sieon. Welcome to Tila with the T.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you for accepting my invitation. Listen, he is a very busy man, y'all. I got to get to his PA, his assistant of the PA. You know what I'm
Don't
saying?
do that. Don't do that.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to get really close and upfront and personal about some of the things that you have gone through in your life, such as, moving from a whole nother state to the great state of Texas, from, being a father of 5 to being a bishop of a well-known church, Lighthouse Church in Houston. So my question for you is, where did it all start? How did you know that God was calling you into the office of a pastor, an apostle, a bishop, a prophet?
So that's a loaded question. When you say where did it all start, I guess my initial thought was when you started and said moving from Indiana to Houston. Man, for me it started way before then though, because God started getting me ready for this as a child, right? So I knew at the age of 18 that God had called me to ministry.
Wow.
But it was so mixed and so muddled with just heartbreak and pain and disappointment and just a lot of different things. And so it's just amazing the journey that God put me on to equip me for ministry. And I think people have sometimes, not all, but some people have just a incorrect view of ministry, because ministry can be a very dirty, painful place when you're supposed to minister to people.
Right.
And I don't think people really know and understand the people who have to do the ministering, what we have to go through just to get to that place where we can minister to them. So for me, it started well before I even got to Houston, all the way back when I was a teenager. Not sure we have all the time for that, but I knew when I was 18 that God had a call on my life. And from that point, there was a long, long, long journey of preparation.
Wow. So at the age of 18, you were called. And what was that like for you? Were you fully submitted and committed to the Father? Were you, backsliding, doing what you're doing, living your best of life?
Yeah,
Like, what was it like for you?
it's crazy because I tell my oldest son, he's 21. I tell him he's much more committed at his young age than I was. So I knew I was called. I was very, very active and involved in church, not so committed outside of the church, right? Like I was, by the time I got out of high school and all of those things, I was no longer doing the things I was doing in high school, like, smoking weed and gang banging and all of that. I had put all of that to the side, but just women, once somebody told me I was a little bit handsome. So I was, I had a lot of insecurities because I didn't have a father and had some mommy issues that I didn't even know about, which is a whole nother podcast in and of itself. But like I had all of that going on. And so my drug of choice was women. And so like I wasn't, to answer your question directly, I wasn't living the holy life that I should have been living. But so I was doing both. I was in church. I was called. I was very much serving in church, but outside the church, I was very much women chasing.
Right. It's funny that you say that because I was the same way. I was the minister of music, minister of dance. And I was doing so much within the church, but outside the church, I was living my best life. I was like, I'm gonna say it. I was a hoe. I was anybody that looked my way. I was like, "Hey, how you doing? What's up?"
Yeah.
And and my way of showing love was giving myself physically to a person that I know they love me. And so, when you were going through all of this whole process, when did God say, "This is enough. I need you to fully focus on me"? When did you have that come to Jesus moment?
Yeah, so I think it's crazy because that portion didn't pause. I won't say stop. It didn't pause until I ended up getting married. So I my first marriage was very brief. It was a woman that I grew up with in church. Let's just say, without putting them out there, that she's with my former pastor now. And so that's a whole thing, right? He's no longer the pastor of the church. I ended up becoming the pastor of that church.
Wow.
That's the church that my grandfather used to pastor. So let's set that to the side. My oldest son is with her.
Hmm.
And I ended up in a 16-year marriage. So that is where it paused, and I was with her.
Hmm.
We ended up having two kids, and I still had a lot of trauma, but I wasn't womanizing. But she had to deal with me trying to grow up, right? Just
Hmm.
anger issues from not having a father. Um, I was a great dad because I was determined to be what I didn't have,
Right.
but I probably wasn't the best husband because, I had all of these issues. I had a bunch going on. So,
I do have a question.
hmm
I heard some people say that, you can be a great father, but not a great husband, or you can be a great husband and not a great father.
hmm
Do you feel that, okay, if I am not a great husband, I'm not showing or setting the example for my children, so therefore I'm really not a great father. Have you ever thought of it that way, if you understand what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, I have. I don't know that it doesn't make me a great father. I think even a great father is not a perfect father, right?
Mm,
So my children will tell you that I was a great dad, but I just said to my son last night, my oldest son is now married. And I was talking to him and his new wife last night. And I was talking to both of them and telling them, hey, both of you all need to heal from trauma, right? When you're young like that, you got to understand you're probably dealing with each other based upon some trauma. And I
right.
said to him, I said, hey, heal from your mother, heal from me. Like, I know that even though I was probably what they call a great father,
Hmm.
there's some things that I did that you got to either get over or go away from. So there's some
Hmm.
examples that I set that you don't need to follow, even though I
Right.
was a great father.
Hmm.
So I was great as a dad, but you probably don't need to follow some examples that I set as a husband, right?
Right.
Be a different kind of husband than I was, right? Like, so I found out like, okay, they're at each other's throat. He's sleeping on the couch. Well, he got that from me. Like, right.
Mm,
When
wow.
I'm mad, like I'm out of here. I'm gonna go sleep on, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So he's his daddy's son. So there's some things that he needs to unlearn,
Hmm.
and God needs to teach him how to do some things differently because he got them from me. The things that I was able to teach him that are just relative to father son, he'll do fine at. But there are some examples that I said that weren't the greatest examples.
Right. So you said that you was previously married, right, for
hmm
16 years,
hmm
and now, right now you're not in a relationship,
Right.
right? And you do hope to be married
hmm
again because
hmm
it's a God ordained thing. So what is some things that you had to unlearn from your previous marriage going into whomever God has for you?
Well, I always like to start with me. Um, I have to make sure that I unlearn. Number one, I can't expect me from people,
Mm,
right? So because of how I am,
hmm.
I expect people to be how I am.
Right.
And I have to understand that I'm not marrying me. I'm marrying a whole nother person. And so I first have to understand that, and I have to be aware of that when I go into a relationship. I have to make sure that I go into that relationship healed as well, because that is not fair to that person for them to have to deal with whatever trauma or baggage that I come into that relationship with. And then I have to unlearn making that person fit into whatever box the church wants them to fit into,
Wow.
right? The next person I marry will not be the church's first lady. They will be my wife, right?
Right.
And so
Right.
those are the main things that I really I want to make sure that I focus on in my next relationship.
Wow. So going back to traumas, you said that you grew up without a father,
hmm
right? So what happened in that situation? Did he just up and leave? What was involved? What was the process of him not being a part of your life?
Yeah, so this getting ready to be some double T, right? So
Mm-hmm.
my first biological father um, was just never there. He was, according to my mom, he was never around. I think when I was one, I was in the hospital for whatever reason. He came around and I hadn't seen him since then. think he called when I was 13. But as a teenager, I now understand that he hadn't been around, so I was angry I didn't speak to him. Met him for the first time face to face when I was 18. Quick meeting at a church, nothing since then. He met my children once or twice, but he just was never around. And he never really wanted me around his other family. So obviously he was kind of keeping me a secret. Never told them about me. So when he
Were
was,
you his first?
no, from what I understand, he has a son older than me.
Hmm.
But whenever he was meeting me away from them.
Wow.
So they didn't know about me, right? And several things have happened to let me know that. So, like when I was reaching out to my other siblings, it was a surprise to them. It was causing ruckus, and he kind of gave me that like stay away vibe, right? Like you're causing problems with my family. True story. So that was him. So then my mother married a man
Hmm.
who adopted me and everything, gave me his last name. Then he abused me. Like when I say abused me, like abused me. Like he broke my arm once because he beat me with like a wooden plank or something like that.
Wow.
And my arm was broken. He didn't know it was broken, but then he sent me to school. And I'm like complaining about excruciating pain in my arm. They sent me to the nurse, only to find out I had a broken arm. So of course DCS is called and all of this. So it was a very abusive situation to the extent that my mom had to kind of like escape, and we were in a shelter for a little while. And so like I had two situations where fathers had opportunities to be in my life,
Hmm.
and just fumbled the bag very badly. And so that was a pattern for me in life.
Right.
Every father figure that had an opportunity to be there did not do a great job until I met my pastor, who has been a spiritual father for me, Bishop William Hudson, and he's been amazing in my life. Besides that, that's kind of been my thing. And I think that's what motivated me to try to be there
Hmm.
for my natural sons
Right.
and the sons that I fathered spiritually. Like God has sent me men who have had the same issue that I've had with their fathers, and I've been able to help them through theirs as well.
Wow. So, having not having your own father around has, I know you said that it has helped in a sense on how to raise your five sons, but has there ever been a moment where, okay, I'm not going to do this um to my children, but then you find yourself doing it because you solely focus on not doing it? For example, you know, growing up in an African American household, I'm not gonna yell at my kids because also all I was yelled at. My mom would yell at me and
Hmm.
tell me about myself, and some saying, "Oh, you just like your daddy," and all this stuff like
Hmm.
that. Have you ever found yourself going back to that place where you said that you wasn't gonna go being a father, if that makes sense?
I'm sure I have. I stayed away from what I would consider the abuse. I mean, I was a strict dad. Like I knew I was raising black men.
Mm-hmm.
So, I did what I saw my mom do. She definitely whooped us.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got spankings, but I never did what my dad did. My dad was ridiculous with it, right? Like I'm talking about if there was a belt, he didn't use the belt, he used the buckle, the,
Oh
the
wow.
metal part, right? So like he was overboard with it. But I'm sure there were things that like my just saying certain things
Mm-hmm.
to my children that I probably said, hey, I don't want to say those kind of things because they're not positive reinforcement. That I wish I could go back and say, I don't want to say that kind of thing. I want to only positive reinforce my kids, right? Positively reinforce it. So I know for a fact there were things that if I could do differently probably from a speech standpoint, I definitely would. Specifically, my namesake, Sieon Jr., because my oldest Leon and my third son Jeremiah, they were both athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Athletic children. So they were on my hip naturally because I coached them. Sion Jr., he was more of a musical kid. He liked cars. And so it wasn't as organic. I had to put myself in his space. So we
Mm-hmm.
had a harder time connecting. So I think with him, there was a lot that I wished that I had done differently with him because he gravitated more towards his mom and the other two gravitated more towards me. now we have a great relationship, he and I. Like we were texting on the way when I was on my way here. Like it's great now. But I do wish that growing up I was a little different with him.
Right. So going back to, being a father of five, what are some things that you teach them that you were never taught?
That's really good. Um, so I wasn't taught anything by a man.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a hard time learning to be a man. So everything that was tough on me, I try to teach them. It's a lot, right? Like just um, everything from finances.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn the hard way. I didn't have a man to teach me, like, you got to prepare yourself for this because you're going to have a family one day.
Right.
I had to learn that the hard way. Credit, I had to learn that the hard way. Everything down to my son texted me the other day, like, "Hey, Dad, I don't have no windshield wiper fluid. Like, what am I supposed to do? He's got a car now, right? So like everything and all of those things, I didn't have anybody that I could text.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn all those things the hard way. So I've had to structurally teach them everything about being a man, and it gives me joy. Like being a father is the greatest joy that I've had because it's the thing that I didn't have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to help them um, with everything about being a man, like helping them preparing them and helping them understand you got to be ready in this way
Right.
because eventually you're going to have a family. So going into college, make sure you don't get yourself into debt. They're going to offer you all kind of credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not ready at that point necessarily to take one, right? Take one maybe
Right.
when you get more settled. You'll need one at some point. Wait till you get maybe a house or maybe, things of that nature. Just trying to teach them how to be ready, how to get ready, how to, everything from, like I said, the card to the credit to girlfriends to, hey, there's time, don't rush, you know. Now, having five sons, three of which are older, some of them listen, some of them don't.
Right.
So,
Right.
that's a whole nother situation. Um, I have some listeners, I have some that are in the middle, and I have some that have to hit their head. So,
Right. Right. So at the age of 18, you were called into
mhm.
ministry. When did you transition from Indiana to Texas and why?
Okay. So I'm fast. I'm gonna try to give you a really quick version. So from 18 to transition, because that's like 20 plus years. So 18, I'm called. 25, I'm called to pastor for the first time
Hmm.
at my church. I spent 18 years at that church pastor.
Wow.
18 years pastor, right? Like it's a total shift, and we shift the church. Like God is using me to plow some tough years,
Hmm.
just uprooting things apostolically, just teaching them, getting them out of their religious habits and
Right.
teaching them, the biblical things that God wants. We get the church where we want it. I have a spiritual son whose name is Christopher Robinson that I didn't know how God was working all of this, but like, I'd say 2 years before I ended up transitioning, God led me to kind of push him out of the nest
Hmm.
and say, hey, you need to go start a church. You're too gifted. Like, amazing preacher, amazing singer. You have your own voice. There are people going to be drawn to your voice. I didn't know at the time that those 2 years he would spend building his own church was really going to be practice for him because God also then told me he's going to be the one to come take this church while you go to Houston.
Wow.
So then I had to tell the church, hey, I'm being assigned. Well, when I came to Houston to preach for Pastor Keon, he told the world, everybody watches his church online. So he told the world after I got done, he prophesied and said, the Lord is leading me to bring you to Houston to start a campus for me. Well, my members are
Wow.
watching this online, like,
Oh my
Pastor, you going to
goodness.
Houston? You leaving us?
Oh my
And so
goodness.
like but crazy, and it was crazy because 5 years before that I had started dreaming about coming to Houston. So I knew God was leading me to Houston.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, I'm having to navigate all of this. And I'm like, eventually I had to tell him, like, yes, I do believe God is leading me to Houston. I don't know when, I don't know how. So I started off by going back and forth. I would be in Houston one week, Indiana another week. Pastor Chris would be my campus pastor.
Hmm.
So he was still pastoring his church, and he would be in charge of my church, which was called New Hope, when I was gone. and we transitioned it until ultimately I told them, I said, hey, this is who God would have to take over for me in my absence. I said, you guys can receive him and the church will grow. He's going to bring in his members from his church. You'll see immediate growth. You'll see God bless you immediately. Or you cannot hear me and the church will probably die first and you may recover from it. It's up to you guys. I won't force anything on you. It was almost unanimous that they received him.
Mm.
I moved to Houston. They received him. They've been doing amazing. And I spent the last, we started the Lighthouse Camp, Southeast Campus, March of 2023. So that started 3 years ago. I didn't officially move until August of 2023. So I've officially lived here 2.5 years, but I started the church 3 years. So it was probably the toughest 2.5 years of my life.
Really?
Um, but the season is changing now.
Wow. So how did that affect your children moving? Were they all in Indiana
Yeah,
or
so yeah.
Houston or?
So that was the tough part, right?
Mm-hmm.
So um went through a divorce, right? At the end of my time in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Divorce feels like death. So that 16-year marriage came to an end. Um, Divorce absolutely feels like death. So that felt
Right.
like a death. Death is just separation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Separation from soul from the body.
Right.
So that's a separation. Um, Separated from a church of 18 years. That's another death like, right? Separated from my sons who I've raised. They're all like grown now, college age, but I'm no longer in the region with them.
Right.
All right. So all of this separation was a lot for me at one time mentally. Separated from my pastor, who ended up apologizing because he kind of took it as an elevation for me and he felt like I didn't need him anymore.
Mm.
But it was, he's human. But it
Right.
was a misstep on his part because I absolutely needed you. I needed you more now than ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going through a divorce. I'm leaving my church. A lot of my brothers that were brothers in the ministry, they didn't know how to take it. So I was literally alone. But I gave them grace because I also know that God isolated me.
Mm-hmm.
So he and I could have some time. And that time, like when God gets you alone,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, and there's no like God, like, yeah, now you're getting ready to get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Like we're getting ready to strip you of all of this garbage.
Wow.
Yeah, you've been ministering to people, but I know the real you, right?
Mm. So during that time of the wilderness season, what was some of the things that God revealed to you about the real you? For example, for me, being married for over 10 years to my ex-husband, he
Mm-hmm.
was like, God was like, you was a horrible wife.
Mm-hmm.
You said you knew me, but honey, I was nowhere in your marriage. It
Yeah.
was bad, because my ex-husband was Muslim and me being a Messianic Jew,
Mm-hmm.
knowing about Jesus Christ, but also practicing the Jewish beliefs. He was like, you was unequally yoked. Your character was bad. You thought you knew everything. You was like the man in the relationship, the marriage. And it was just all this. So during that time of my wilderness, God was just revealing so much to me. So what were some of the things God revealed to you during that time of separation? It's like your whole life was just,
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So number one, I was a horrible husband.
mm,
um, because I wasn't even fully really delivered from the things. I just put some of those things on pause, right?
mm,
So like I was pacifying things. So as soon as I got divorced, I got into another connection that wasn't of him, right? And ended up with twins, right?
mm,
And so I was just pacifying more things. And he had to really strip me and help me understand like that's not the way that you fill gaps,
right.
right? Number one. Number two, he let me know like at the end of the marriage, I never told you to marry her, right? Like, because I'm asking him like, Lord, why would you wait 16 years
Mm,
and then tell me that you never told me to marry her? He's like, you never asked me. Like once he honors marriage, right?
right,
Marriage is
right.
marriage.
Hmm.
But like once you're in it, okay, it's marriage. I'm gonna honor it, but you never asked me.
Exactly.
He said, I told you in all your ways acknowledge me, I will direct your path. So I took that scripture, he that findeth the wife findeth a good thing, to mean that I'm at liberty to choose whoever I want.
Mm,
But he's like, I also said, acknowledge me in all your ways. You didn't acknowledge me to see if this is what I wanted for you.
Right.
And I didn't. I just went with it because she was somebody that I had started having sex with.
Mm.
And I, as an elder in the church, I wanted to be right, right?
Right.
But instead of, I wanted to make the sin right
Hmm.
instead of choosing the right wife, right? So, like, all of these things during that 2.5 years were things that I had to confront. It was embarrassment. It was, I had to get really, really delivered from some things
Hmm.
and to realize that, hey, I absolutely called you. Yeah, you're called. I absolutely have a plan for you, but you've got to become the best version of yourself.
Right.
And so after he crushed me these 2.5 years and healed me, put me back together again, and he used Pastor Keon
Hmm.
and the ministry to insulate me. It was like an incubator. It was like protection for
Wow.
me to be able to get inside of this shelter and grow and heal. And I'll be forever indebted to him for that.
Wow.
Um, God used that as protection for me to be able to do that. And so the season is changing now. And I'm now finally ready to see what healthy relationship looks like, healthy marriage looks like, and healthy ministry looks like.
Mm. Right. So you were married for 16 years and you're
Hmm.
currently no longer married.
Hmm.
So what are some things that you're doing differently to like discern on if she's the right one or if she's a counterfeit or, is there more work that needs to be done within my inner self? What are some things that you're doing different to help you navigate through this season of transition?
Yeah. So if I'm being 100% honest, first and foremost, I'm not letting my body make the choice this time.
Mm.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, God has to make this choice, right? Like,
Right.
I know what I've been put on earth to do,
Hmm.
and she just has to match that.
Right.
Like, is she the one that's about to help me do what I've been put on earth to do in this next season, right? And that's really like, if God, if you can speak to me about all of these other things for all of these other people, all of these prophecies that you've given me for people that
Mm.
come to pass, like all of these people who rave about how the word that I speak to them is so accurate. Well,
Wow.
then I know you can be accurate about whoever this person is. I just have to trust you for that because I've been letting other things drive this decision.
Mm.
So I'm just going to not let my flesh make this decision,
Right.
and I'm gonna make sure that God is the one leading this. And it's really comes down to, um, is this the person that can stand in purpose with me?
Right. So let me ask you a question. My husband and I, we do a lot of things on TikTok. We do lives and we get a lot of questions about can God choose the spouse for you
Hmm.
or it's up to that individual to choose? And what we say is, I believe that if God wants us to choose life,
Hmm.
right? And he wants us to have a life within him and he wants us to choose him first. But if we don't choose him, then that's our decision to make,
Hmm.
right? And so do you feel that God can choose someone for somebody?
I do, but I do feel like He has a perfect and a permissive will.
Right.
He, I feel like He let me choose my first wife, and we stayed together for 16 years.
Hmm.
And the truth of the matter is, I could have stayed with her. I could have, and I could have still been pastoring the church. All of these things could have been.
Right.
Um, so the answer to both of those questions is yes. I think you always come out better when you let God choose. To be honest with you, but can a person choose? Yes, they can. I, for one, am just going to make sure because I've chosen my first one,
Right.
and it just
Right.
didn't go well for me. It
Right.
did not. So this time, I'm letting God say, "Hey, this is her.
Hmm.
This is her. Don't miss this moment." Right? I'm letting God do that.
Wow, that's amazing. Because it's like in my previous marriage, like I stated before, I was there, married to a Muslim for over 10 years. And then tragically, he was shot and killed by we could say a crime of passion or whatever,
Hmm.
but ended up taking him and his partner. And so during that time, I am like, Lord, will I ever get married again? Who's gonna love me with 3 kids? two by him, one by somebody else.
Wow.
I stepped outside of my marriage, even
Wow.
though it was just a lot of things: infidelity, physical abuse, emotional abuse. See,
Yeah.
the physical abuse for me wasn't no problem because I throw these hands, right? Growing up in South Florida,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so it was just a lot of things that wasn't within the will of God. And it's just like once I submitted and committed to God and like found my purpose in life,
Hmm.
um, that's when out of the blue, my now husband came, and it's just like, whoa, where did he come from?
Yeah.
So my question for you is like, I know you want to get married again,
Hmm.
right? Um, Help me, Holy Spirit. How would you navigate through all of this? Like, right, you have a ministry, you have family, you have three older boys, two younger boys.
Hmm.
Like, what are you doing to better yourself throughout the process of, okay, all this transitioning is taking place? How are you handling yourself through
Yeah,
it
no,
all?
that's a great
Maybe.
question. Just navigating through it step by step, right? So right now, I'm focused on the transition of the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm days away from an elevation, and that's getting ready to happen. I'm focused on that right now.
Mm.
Once that happens, um, we're gonna see what God does, right? So I'm just, as it comes before me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm receiving it and trying to navigate it as it comes, right?
Right.
So I think I will know when that time comes. And I think that when that time comes, I'm not putting God in another box,
Mm.
right? So I'm not saying, well, give me 2 years. If that time comes and I know in 3 months, I'll be married in 3 months, right?
Right.
I'm trying to make sure that this is so God led that I trust him in every way, because even this transition is a faith move for me. The
Mm.
transition, even in ministry, is a faith move for me.
I have another question. Being a leader, like what was one of the hardest decisions that you had to make, with like, okay, being the pastor of Lighthouse Church and, also being a father, how were you able to balance that out? And what are some things that you had to like, I guess, give up on to focus on either ministry or family?
So I'm going to have you clarify only because at Lighthouse, so I did make all decisions for the most part before I came to Houston.
Mm-hmm.
At Lighthouse, by me being sitting in the second seat, more so Pastor Keon was making those decisions.
Okay.
I was assisting wherever he needed me to. I made some ministry decisions as it relates to, helping him with sharpening, training, things of that nature in the ministry. So let's drill down into that a little bit more, like,
Okay.
into what you really want to know.
So what was like, okay, so you was a campus pastor at
Southeast.
Southeast.
Hmm.
Like, were there times where you had to like choose family or choose ministry, or what was some of the decisions that you had to make that was very like, oh my goodness, which one to
I
choose?
got you. So I'm always going to choose family.
Hmm.
Period. So, like, my family is my first ministry. I
Right,
strongly believe that, right?
right.
And so the church, any church I pastor, will always know and should always know that if it's specifically my immediate family,
Hmm.
my children, whenever I marry again, it's always going to be my home and then church. So if ever there's a decision on which one I have to choose, it's always going to be my family.
Right. So what did your children say? Do they ever feel like, oh my goodness, daddy put ministry before us? Or like going back to your 16-year marriage, did your wife ever feel like you put purpose before family?
Yeah, so that's one thing that I really, really, really got right. So I was just having this conversation with my son yesterday. Like, I one time I drove back. So my children were football, basketball, but we tried when they were little. We tried soccer.
Hmm.
So I drove back from Tennessee, 8 hours through the night, just to come coach a soccer game. And I knew that they weren't really going to be soccer players. I said all that just to say, my kids knew whatever they were doing, daddy was going to be there. Like, I never wanted my kids to ever feel like church came before them.
Mm.
They were always able, football was played when they were in youth football, it was played on Sundays.
Hmm.
And but me being a pastor, of course, sometimes that was tricky.
Right.
But they
Yeah.
would come to church in their football uniforms, and we would just do church, and they would still go play their games because I never wanted them to feel like they were missing out. So I
Mm,
always made sure my family knew that church doesn't come first. Like dad's gonna be there. We did AAU. We traveled. There were times sometimes I just had to miss church
wow.
to be at their tournaments. Or if the tournament was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, um, we would have to figure something out where mom would drive. We would drive separate or something.
Hmm.
And I'd be there Friday and Saturday. I'd drive back throughout the night and mom would stay. I did whatever I had to do to make sure I was always there because
Wow.
I never wanted my kids to feel like ministry came first because it's just out of God's order, right? It's God first, family second, then the church. So I always made sure my family always knew that. There are a lot that I did wrong.
Hmm.
I got that one right.
Right. That's amazing because, some people find it very hard to pastors, ministers find it very hard to balance family and ministry. It's like, okay, are you married to ministry or are
Right,
you married to
right, right.
family? And so finding that balance is very important, or if not, you should put family first because growing up for me, although I was adopted, right? My mom was a workaholic. And I
Yeah.
tell her to this day, I mean, mommy, you working, you've been working for this company for over 30 something years, which
Hmm.
miss birthdays, miss dance events and all this stuff like that. And it's just like, okay, when are you gonna set time out for what's really important, which is your family? Because at the
Hmm.
end of the day, we're gonna be the ones showing up for you if something happens, not your
Right,
job.
right, right, right.
And so what would you advise for ministers that are married to ministry and they have a whole family?
Yeah.
What would you advise them?
Yeah. So specifically pastors, I think you got to set the tone early with your church. You have to let them know. First of all, you have to teach it. I
Hmm.
think part of the problem is pastors want that dedication from their members and it's not biblical, right? Like you've got to teach your members, like, hey, yeah, I want you to serve in the church, but don't leave your family in flux to come serve at the church, right?
Right,
Like you've got
right.
to make sure your family is good. Like we want the family to be a part of the church.
Hmm.
Make sure that, it's a family atmosphere in the church, but families need to make sure that they're taking care of what they need to take care of and
Right.
then set that tone with your church to make sure that they understand that the family has to come first. So my advice would be take care of who's going to take care of you because the truth of the matter is when the pastor passes away, they're going to put a grief cloth over your seat and over the church. They're going to mourn for 30 days and they're going to get a new pastor.
Right.
Your family going to miss you for the rest of their life, right? And
Right.
so you need to make sure that you are putting that family first because that's what's most important.
Now, in the midst of transitioning, right, you're transitioning a lot at the moment. So, can you tell me what you're transitioning into?
Yeah. So again, just kudos to Pastor Keon. He blessed me so much. God has a way. He's my cousin, and
Wait, y'all related?
mhm, yeah,
Really?
we're not like black people cousins. We're real cousins. Like we real cousins.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, our family, our blood, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but God used him in an amazing way in this season of my life. God knew what I needed, as I stated before. Like He knew I needed that insulation, and so it's not a lot of churches or pastors that are willing to let you come and do ministry, let that ministry grow what I call inside the womb of the Lighthouse Church, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've been able to grow inside of their womb, feed off of their umbilical cord,
Right.
and then cut the cord and say, hey, now go be great. And literally birth us out and let us go do that. So we're in that transition right now. From this recording, probably about 40 days from now, we'll be elevated. May 31st, will be elevated and I will go from being a campus pastor
Mm-hmm.
to a senior pastor again. And I'll be the
Wow.
senior pastor of my own church. And the people that I've been pastoring for the last 3 years, 98% of them are going to continue to remain with me. And that's a tremendous blessing. And
Wow,
we will
that's
start on a
amazing.
journey together to continue to grow and do more in the city of Houston.
Wow.
And we expect that more will become a part of what we do. We believe we have a great apostolic work to do here in the city, and we're looking forward to
Wow, that's amazing.
it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what are you going to do different now that you're having your own church again,
Yeah.
and branching out and stuff? So what is some of the things that you're going to do different within this church?
Yeah. Of course, Lighthouse, Pastor Keon's vision and where he had grown was much larger. He had been here for 17 years. We're coming in on a different scale, so I'll be able to do some different things. I'm big on outreach, so I'm looking
Mm,
forward to, even just this summer, as soon as we are free to kind of do those things, we're going to hit the ground running. So
wow.
outreach is a big thing for us. We're going to begin reaching out to the community we're in. Sunnyside is where we are right now.
Hmm.
So we'll be doing some outreach immediately. Um, just the ability to be able to reach out to the community is big for me. So
Right.
those type of things. I'm a person of just excellence. I love music. So we're going to set up some things in our ministry that are kind of geared towards my gifting and my anointing,
Hmm.
or what God has called me to do in the way that I flow. But I'm just looking forward to those things. But none of this would have been possible. Like literally everything that is set up now, the Lord used Pastor to just kind of gift me with those things. So I'm grateful.
Wow. So you're going from Lighthouse Church to your own church. And um, what about the church that you left in Indiana?
Mhm.
How is that going? And does anyone know, personally that you're transitioning into going back to having your own ministry again?
Yeah, so that church is going extremely well. My son, Pastor Christopher Robinson, is an amazing ministry gift. The world will hear about him. He just preached for Pastor Jamal Bryant in Newburgh a
Oh,
couple of weeks
wow.
ago. So yeah, God is using him in an amazing way. He does know about the transition.
Hmm.
Soon the rest of the church will know once it hits social media and all of that. I have not been back there to preach yet.
Hmm.
That's been on purpose though. I told him that they need a couple of years. I want him to get in their heart. I was there
Right.
for 18 years.
Yeah.
I was their pastor for 18 years. That's a long time. So we needed some separation,
Hmm.
and for him to just pastor. He is their pastor now. So they love him. And it's going great. It's like I told him, I think a statement that I made, and I stand by it. And I think he knew what I meant when I said it. But I was strong in it. I said, "Hey, son, you weren't my choice. You were God's choice."
Wow.
And it doesn't mean that I wouldn't have chosen him. I just wanted him to know that more importantly than what my choice was, you need to know God chose you for this. The
Right.
reason I said you was because God told me to. And it's going exactly the way God said that it would go. New Hope is in very good hands. And so I've been on this big legacy thing. There's a guy online, Jasper Williams III, who's doing these legacy conversations on YouTube,
Hmm.
and it's been really blessing me. And when I think legacy, I think about what I'm doing now and what my sons and spiritual sons are doing. And I'm looking at what my oldest son and how he's online and doing his thing with like the prophetic work that God has him doing. My other sons, and then like Chris is a spiritual son of mine,
Hmm.
how he's taken that church and God is just using him. And I've got other sons that are doing things. So legacy at this age, I'm 46, and just still have a lot of ministry in me, but
Hmm.
I'm starting to think legacy and starting to see what my footprint's going to be in the earth. And I'm just excited about what God is doing.
Right. So do you see like your son, your oldest son, possibly taking over like some of the things that you
He
will?
will.
He will.
He will. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in Indiana. You asked me earlier where my sons were. So when I first moved here, they all were still in Indiana.
Hmm.
So the third son is in Indiana, still in college. The the second oldest, Sieon Jr., he was in Indiana, but he's in the military. He's in Charlotte now,
Hmm.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Fort Bragg.
Well, he's working in a hospital. He's not a military base now,
Oh, okay,
but he
okay, okay.
just went active duty, so we don't know where he's
Oh.
going to be. But so we're praying for him because he just went active duty. My oldest son, who was in Indiana, is now married, has one child, and he's back in Houston,
Mm.
and he's right in the ministry with me.
Oh, wow.
So I'm grooming him, and the Lord let me know clearly that he's going to be responsible for some of our church growth because he's going to draw a generation that I
Right.
can't draw. Well, that I won't draw. He'll draw them. And so I'll groom him and he'll have a big footprint in our church. So he definitely will take over some things.
Wow, that's amazing. Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much for coming on to Tila with the Tea. We appreciate the time that you have spent with us, and I'm
Mhm.
just so blessed and honored to have you here, being on Tila with the Tea.
This was amazing.
Thank you. Is there any encouraging words that you want to leave for pastors, for fathers, for those who really don't know their purpose as of yet, or to what God has called them to do? Do you have any words of encouragement for them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would say to people is that God's plan for them, it has peaks and valleys, right? I think sometimes we make people think that there's this straight path that has no curves, no peaks, no valleys, that the dirtiest, messiest, darkest parts of your story, God intends to use.
Hmm.
And you don't disqualify yourself because of um, the dark parts of your story. Just know that God is going to use those hurtful things and even those embarrassing things
Hmm.
to get ministry out of you. And there's somebody that is going to need your testimony. So heal from it, confront it, repent from it, and move forward so that you can help somebody who's dealing with the same thing. That's the best encouragement I can give.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in with Tila with the T. Just remember, I love you, but Jesus loves you more. Be blessed. Bye bye.